Dear friends and followers, welcome back to my channel and lovely greetings from New York's JFK Airport. I flew in today for one specific reason only. I got the great opportunity to probably interview the most famous air traffic controller out there, Kennedy Steve. So a couple of weeks back I uploaded this video.
The cannon salute's a bit of a giveaway. Congratulations.
That's Kennedy Steve. Ever heard of him? Steve, if you're watching, please contact me. I would love to have an interview with you. A day later, I got an email from him, was excited like crazy, and we've been writing back and forth to arrange today's meeting. So definitely enjoy this interview with your sent in questions, and let's get started.
I'd like to go outside of the aircraft and close it if that's possible.
I don't... Alright, you know what? You can make a left-hand turn at the next taxiway, hold short of the runway, and whatever you need to do, you can do.
All right, we're now to Kennedy Steve's office, and as you guys have sent in the questions, I'll be now asking all these questions to Kennedy Steve. And we'll start with the first one. How and where did you start your career as an ATC controller?
So I started in the early 90s, 1990, and I spent my first 4 years at Teterboro Airport in northern New Jersey.
Okay.
And came to Kennedy in 1994.
Did you do all the positions, meaning as an air traffic controller you did ground, delivery and tower?
Yeah, so all controllers in the United States work every position in the facility where they're assigned, if it's an ATC tower. If you go into a center environment, you would, in order to be certified and fully able to work without a trainer, you have to be certified in all the positions. That's called a certified professional controller.
Okay.
So I would work every position, usually every shift.
Let's just picture a day at work of yours. You went to work and did you do like ground for 2 hours, then tower for 2 hours, or how did it work?
2 hours is the maximum you could work on position without a break. We usually strived for 60 to 75 minutes, especially when it was very busy.
Okay.
Because you needed a break after 75 minutes of crazy grounds. And the assignment of position, it was up to the supervisor, the controller in charge. They, you can start out working clearance delivery, you can start out working local control, you start out working ground. To a controller, it didn't matter. You just went where they told you. And
is there any favorable one you'd liked more than the others?
I liked working ground the most. I mean, it was, it's most fun, most dynamic. And you kind of never knew what you were going to get. So that at least made every day a little different.
Okay. Well, good that you say ground, because I haven't actually flown into JFK yet myself. This is one of my big goals. I'm still waiting for it. Do you like the layout of taxiways from JFK? Do you think does it make sense to you, or is it actually really difficult?
One of the challenges of working here, and truly in most older designed airports, is the geometry of the airport is really not very efficient.
Okay.
In the United States, if you look at, DFW or Atlanta or Denver, all these newer airports with multiple sets of parallel runways and a pretty straightforward taxiway system and, 2 or 3 ways or 2 or 4 ways in and out of every alleyway. It's a lot easier to move traffic. This is an airport that was designed in the 50s, built for smaller airplanes with propellers that you now have A380s running around it. So that's the challenge. The challenge is really the geometry and the airport layout.
Have you got any great stories involving Concorde? Have you experienced? Oh, you must have experienced Concorde many times.
So the Concorde was a funny airplane, especially for controllers who used to come to Kennedy. Because as trainees, they'd walk in and they'd be all excited. You got to work the Concorde. Wow, it's so cool! You're one of the only airports in the U.S. You get to work the Concorde. Then you work the Concorde for a few months and you go, wow, isn't that guy a pain? Because. So the Concorde had many unique challenges. First of all, his landing speed was much faster than anything else, so that was a challenge. Very noisy, so there were a lot of noise abatement issues. So the airplane could never follow. There are times that the airplane couldn't follow the traffic patterns of everybody else. So that made it a challenge. And in terms of I have 2 good Concorde stories. One was one of my coworkers was training with the Concorde one day. And asked him at probably about 1,000 feet to circle to land another runway. And, the pilot thought it was the greatest thing in the world. But of course he's, off the approach, rattling every window in Southern Queens, doing it. And the person who was training him was kind of sitting back, kind of watching what's going on, and I heard him say that and went, wait a minute, did he really just say that? And there goes the Concorde breaking off the approach, making right traffic. So it was an interesting evening. I worked the last Concorde operation out of JFK.
That was just my next question, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Have you experienced any like serious emergencies you had to deal with as an air traffic controller at JFK?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the definition of a serious emergency is versus a real one. So we, routinely there are emergencies at Kennedy every other day. I mean, they just happen. I was working a Aerogal, no longer in business.
I was just gonna say.
So Aerogal used to fly from Ecuador to Kennedy, and one night it's the end of a shift. We're doing a runway change. And Aerogal was flying the VOR approach to 13 left, and you basically make right traffic into one of the parallels. And if you line up for the wrong runway, it's about a mile between the base leg and the runway threshold.
Yeah.
And if you line up for 13 right versus 13 left, the window of opportunity to notice that is very limited.
Okay.
And we would routinely land 13 left and depart 13 right. And there are lead-in lights that take you to 13 left, and there's a small set that take you to 13 right. But so we're landing 13 left, and that is the norm. Everybody kind of lands that way. So Aerogal decided to land on 13 right. Well, I had somebody sitting in position on the runway.
Oh, dear.
So, noticed it at the very last second. And again, we send Aerogal around. Or I send Aerogal around. Most airplanes, if you hit the toga switch, the airplane kind of cleans up and climbs very rapidly. So Aerogal was in an old 767-300, and I guess he didn't think it was so important to climb very rapidly. So he just kind of lumbered over the top of an airplane that was departing underneath him. So that was
the tight one.
it was just a little more interesting than it needed to be. I expected the toga switch and the rapid climb with a very powerful airplane without a lot of gas in it, and I didn't get that. So that kind of added to the.
Now you obviously on the internet or on YouTube are famous for your, let's say, more casual ATC conversations with the pilots.
Yes.
And one of them, which is really, really famous, and I'm not sure if you remember that, was a Lufthansa pilot.
Yep.
Who I think you told him there wasn't like a panel or something that had opened up on his plane.
So he was taxiing out to 31 left.
Yeah.
And the aircraft behind him said there was an access panel open.
The plane behind. Okay.
So he asked me.
I'd like to go outside of the aircraft and close it if that's possible.
I said, well, I don't really know if you're allowed to, but there's not much I can do from here to stop you from doing that. Yeah. So.
I can imagine that Evan getting his binoculars out to see if he really got out.
I think it was a rear access panel, and I guess they could climb down through a stairwell or a ladder. I actually don't even remember. I think they sent a mechanic out to close the panel.
Well, it seems like that this is only like a German pilot can do that, like have the balls to go and climb out of the plane and close the panel.
It's definitely the first time anybody asked me if they could do it, and I will tell you it was the only time anybody asked me whether he could do it. Yeah, you want to go out? I mean, I guess on-time performance was big. We didn't want to go back to the ramp.
Okay. Is there an airline you would say is the funniest, or like you really enjoyed talking to them and giving them clearances, or is it one of them you said you didn't like at all? We didn't like your humor at all.
The Middle East 3 tend to dislike my humor more than anybody else. They did not appreciate any of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they took things too seriously. They were very regimented, and I guess how those companies are run is the reason why. But
in terms of airline or in general, planes wise, is there a plane you really favor, or say that is your favorite plane to work with, or just in general the looks of it?
I think the easiest airplane to work was a Boeing 757. It could go, great performance.
Okay, good.
Down here. I mean, could climb really well, could turn on a dime, could go very slowly if you needed to. Great.
Okay, good.
Worst airplane to work, Airbus 340-300.
Oh, really?
Best description ever given to me of that airplane by a Virgin Atlantic pilot said it was an airplane with 4 hair dryers under the wing. So it kind of goes against the fact that those guys don't have a sense of humor, because I thought that was one of the best descriptions ever. Cause
I heard of the A340 is that its climb performance, the only reason why it climbs is because the shape of the Earth, because
yes.
Okay, good. In terms of 9/11, if you do want to speak about it or not, were you on duty that day? Lucky you.
Day off. No, I was at home.
That must have been quite exciting.
It was a good day not to be at work. Yeah. I have a couple of vivid recollections of 9/11. I live under the kind of the northern approach fix into LaGuardia, so I routinely see arrival traffic. And my wife and I were out that afternoon. I was walking my dog, not an airplane to be heard in the sky, obviously. And then all of a sudden, we heard, a couple of F-15s coming down the Hudson River to go over New York. So
Does Kennedy Steve have a pilot license?
Kennedy Steve does not have a pilot license, and because Kennedy Steve has terrible motion sickness.
Oh my word!
Yeah, so learning to fly in a small airplane that would get bumped around a lot would not be a good thing for Kennedy Steve. So no, there's no pilot's license.
Can you tell us your best A to C joke? Oh my
So
word! I just opened a box.
You know what? We have so many. There's so many great stories over my career, and I think one of the funniest was one of my colleagues he's working in Air India 747.
Yeah.
With somebody right behind him. He says Air India 101 without delay, exited Victor, traffic short, final behind you. Oh, Roger, Delta at India 101. Comes back to him and goes, Air India 101, no delay turning, traffic short, final, need you off the runway. The pilot comes back and goes, Delta, this is not a motor car. It is a jumbo jet, and we are turning as fast as we can.
Okay. Do you have a favorite aviation movie you like? Is there something you recommend? Don't say Pushing Tin. If you say Pushing Tin,
I don't think there's been a good aviation movie made. So, look, I think Airplane is wonderful slapstick humor. You say Pushing Tin. The only thing I would tell you about Pushing Tin is the reality of the control room scenes and the interactions between people in the ATC control room. It's pretty realistic.
Is it? Okay, good. Okay, good. Well, it's actually then we highly recommend you to watch that. It's a good.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever get in trouble with one of your supervisors for being a bit sort of flamboyant, casually on ATC?
No.
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 But I mean, they knew you for that. For they knew that you would.
So here's the bottom line was it was never meant to be insulting or cross the line. Mm-hmm. And it was never at the detriment of not having the traffic move.
Okay, yeah.
You can, if the airplanes are moving, everybody's happy. Mm-hmm. And even if the airplanes are moving slowly and it's really busy, that's a stressful situation not only for the controller but for the pilot. And if you can inject a little humor into somebody who's sitting in the middle of a 180-minute taxi, that's probably a good thing.
Apparently you made sort of you changed your voice when you spoke to the tug drivers.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's because, if you listen to the frequency, the communication method, the radios that pilots use in general are pretty good. Well, the tugs are terrible. They're talking to you like with the tug running and the windows open and you can barely hear them. So you gotta have some fun with them anyway. And the other thing is, in my mind, the level of priority, arrival, departure, and then there's a tug that's kind of down there. It's kind of just not important to what I'm trying to accomplish at the time. So.
The crawling tug too, yes sir.
We're actually back off. We'd like to talk to Lima Alpha.
What time does your shift end? It might take an hour.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Tug 2 up Quebec, short of November.
But have you ever met one of them? Like, do you know?
Yeah,
I've
met a couple.
You met, okay, good. All right. Final question for today. Have you ever spoken to AirForceOne?
Many times.
Oh, okay. I thought you said like once at least. Many times.
So presidents come to New York a lot, especially during campaign time, because it's a great place to raise money. And they come to Kennedy, and we're really good at going through I won't say the rigmarole, but of dealing with AirForceOne, because there's a lot of complexity of dealing with it. And if you're going to come to New York, it's much easier to come here than it would be to go to Newark or LaGuardia.
Okay, so but also you need to be like briefed a day in advance, or you already know when she's coming, right? So.
No, when the plane's coming. The airport basically shuts down. We tend not to let newer people talk to AirForceOne.
Okay.
Because they get myopic. And they really it's not so much that they concentrate on what they're saying, but they kind of forget that there's other things going on around them. Because it's AirForceOne.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Okay.
It's not a good thing for a controller to be focused on one airplane.
All right, well, that sums it up more or less. Steve, I really want to say thank you very much for
My
being
pleasure.
today.
It was great to meet you.
Fun. And well, it's sad that I'll be coming into JFK probably, hopefully soon, but I won't be hearing your voice. Then it's probably
No.
You got great colleagues, so obviously.
No, they'll take good care of it.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Kennedy and Steve as much as I did. I definitely had a great time, and New York is always a good idea. Unfortunately, I was only here for 36 hours. I specifically only flew out for the interview. I will be doing this again. I am planning out another interview with a very famous pilot here in New York. I hope everything works out. That's it for today. Thank you very much for your time. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you won't miss out upcoming videos. And don't forget, a good pilot is always learning. See you next week. Wishing you all the best. Your Captain Joe.